This is Joe from ArtAlienTV, and today I've got something really cool to show you, and I'm really pleased with these finds. I literally found these yesterday whilst I was doing this, and as you can tell by the title of the video and the title of this, there are two clear fish fossils in this Gigapan, in this set of images from the Curiosity Rover Sol 3397. So we're going back a while, maybe a couple of years back this was taken, I think. And you can link to the original images from this set by following the NASA link here in the top right corner, and just there. Okay. Now, let me show you this one first. I'll show you the actual meme I've done. There we are. Look at that. We have two clear and blatant fish fossils exposed on the surface in Gale Crater. They've probably been there, they could have been there a million years or many millions of years. These were probably buried in sediment that is now eroded away and are exposed in the lakebed, just sitting there. Okay? The one on the left is much smaller. They seem similar size, but I've enlarged this one. This is quite large. This head section of this fish, which looks a bit like a shark or dogfish, I would say is about a foot, maybe 2 feet. It's at a funny angle, so it's hard to work out, and we don't have an exact reference for this. But it's not as big as it seems, right? And this is smaller, and is sticking out of this rock here. Okay, so they're both on the same set of images, not in the same individual image, but these have been stitched together. About 50 images here have been stitched together, 40 or 50, and it's more like 40 actually. And we got one here. The smaller one is attached to this rock, just behind this material here. We've got an eye, we've got a mouth, we've got a chin. Okay, there's not a huge amount of detail here. It's a bit of a distance away from the rover. But what's even more interesting is some of you may have already spotted that there's a huge bone in this rock as well, just here. Or what seems like a bone, just here, like a large leg bone or something. Looks a bit like a femur. Now, this could be from a reptile, it could be from a mammal, it could be from almost anything, I don't know. It may just be a formation that resembles a bone, but there's a lot of those around here. Now, this is the entire part of that rock there, which we can see from this angle. We have the fish here on the right, sticking out. So that's kind of stuck into the mud here, which is then turned into rock over time and dried out. That's what it does. There's lots of sedimentary clays in lake beds like we have here, and that's what you make bricks from. Okay, so when it dries out and bakes in the sun, it goes very hard, and that's what we have here: mudstone or sandstone. Okay, that's what it is. It's made from mud, sedimentary mud. Okay, and this looks like a large femur or something very similar, I would say, as well. Okay, so there's that one. Let me zoom right in to this. Get right in close for you. There we are. If you go back a bit, you can see it more clearly. There's the eye, there's the mouth, and there's the chin. And you can see a sort of join here where the jaw muscle is there, like you see on fish. So that's entirely consistent with a fish. I mean, we've all seen fish, right? We've all seen them. You don't have to be a fisherman to know what a fish looks like, do you? All right? So there's that one. And then there was this one. Let's look at the large clip I've got first, and then I'll show you where to look. Look at this. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And I can't believe I missed this. When I first did this Gigapan years and years ago, I didn't even upload it. I just left it. I thought, well, there's not much in there. There's a few interesting other things, but they're too far away. They're in the background. This is right in the sort of middle ground. and looks like a shark or dogfish. It's even got nostrils here, one there and one there. We got the eye. I mean, unbelievable. We've got a gill here. There would have been a row of gills here, but it's broken in half, or at least the head's broken off. Okay? So there would have been, I would imagine, 4 or 5 gills, maybe 3, don't know. These are not on Earth, so they wouldn't be the same as ours, but I imagine they would be similar to some of ours. As I've shown many times before, a lot of the animal remains that I have shown and fossils that I've shown on the surface, there's all manner of creatures, including lizards, snakes, apes, humans, or humanoids, I should say, aliens, as in possibly remains of people from other planets as well, that may have invaded. I've also shown all different types of crustaceans and mollusks and many, many types of marine fossils, okay, in the past, going right back to when my channel started. I started finding these instantly. As soon as I started searching these images, and back in 2012, I started finding fossils, things like dead rats and other small creatures that look like gophers and stuff like that, or meerkats, that kind of thing. There's all manner of things. So we have rodents, we have fish, we have crustaceans, we have things like lobsters and crabs, all sorts of things, right? Lots of marine fossils, but also lots of land animals and creatures like birds as well. I mean, if you go through my channel, go through my playlists, you will see there are hundreds of examples of these things I've just mentioned. I'm not just making this up. This is real, okay? If you can show multiple examples of something, then it is real. That is a fact. Okay, now this is where it is, just here. Smack bang, almost in the middle, not quite. It's a bit further back. Now, the rover's right down here. We can see the part of the rover here. I would say this is probably about 1.5 to 2 feet, just this section, from the nose to the edge here. Okay, over a foot, that's for sure. Possibly 2 feet. Okay, which means that if it was full length with the rest of the possible shark or dogfish-like fish, it would probably come right to here, right? So if that's 2, that's 4, that's 6. It could have been around 6 to 8 feet long, possibly 10. Okay, assuming that the proportions of their fish are similar to ours, which I think they are, judging by the other things that I've shown, the other fossils that I've shown. Okay, now the interesting thing is, if you look on the ground, there are other parts that look like they were attached to this that have broken off. Not this one or this one, but this one back here looks like part of the midsection or part of one of the gills here, perhaps. If I show you with the magnifier, you can actually see this has the same sort of shape and circumference as that fish head I showed you just a minute ago. Okay, and this may be a fin or part of the gills or some, I don't know. But there are lots of things on the ground here that look like parts that may have been attached. And if you come right to the front of the Gigapan, we have what looks like a fin or tail here somewhere, just here, which may have been part of that. That may have been a fin or the tail, part of the tail fin or dorsal fin. Not sure. But we have what look like bones and a fin-like configuration going on here, right? It's about the right scale for that thing. And there's also a part here which I think may have been part of it as well. Part of the tail section, or this looks like part of a tail section before you get to the full tail part. In other words, this is like towards the tail, right? Maybe. Just here. Now, those of you that are keen fishermen will understand what I'm talking about here, okay? But we've all seen fish before, right? You don't have to be a fisherman or a biologist to know what a fish looks like, because everyone's eaten fish. Most people have, or bought a fish, or seen a fish in a shop. Even vegans know what fish look like, right? Believe it or not. So there we are. So that may be part of it there. And there's also lots of little fragments down here, some of which may be related, okay? So there it is. And what's really interesting about this image is that if you look further down, there's a whole row of things in the ground that look like a structure. Now, I have shown this particular area before in the past, and there is a bunch of structures here and chambers in the ground. Okay, so we're on the edge of the lake bed here. That's where the lake would have been down there. Earlier on in the history of this crater, there would have been much more water, and it probably would have been about a mile deep at one point. Okay, so there would have been all manner of creatures here, and it's a saltwater lake, which explains why a lot of the creatures that I'm finding look like saltwater fossils, marine fossils. So there it is. We got fragments and parts of it, possible parts here, which look like they would fit nicely just behind that. Also parts down in front. There's also this weird thing. I don't think this is anything significant, but it might be part of it or part of something. It's got these weird holes in it and details, but I think that's just kind of erosion mainly, really, wind erosion. But who knows what that is? But it's right in between them. So we have the shark like one is here, and then you go directly across. It's on the same latitude there as this. It's just opposite. So we have two in one gigapan, two clear examples. And we also have, what I've done here is I've put some other examples of similar things that I found before, okay, for you to check out to prove that this isn't a fluke and that these things have been found before, and I've shown many examples. There is the Mars fish fossil. Place your bets. This one's quite large, but it's kind of really flat. It's completely flat, like a flatfish in the ground. And it's right near the rover, this one. I can't remember what sol this is from, but I will have a link. All these images will have links on them by the time you watch this, and you'll be able to link to the original video. A lot of the videos are only a minute long. So there will be hyperlinks on each of these images for you to click on if you wish. Okay? So there was that one. That was a place like flatfish. Okay? There's this one, which is another fish head. And what's insane about this is from Sol 677, right? Now, the image quality is fairly poor with this. This was a long way from the rover, and the image quality wasn't great. But you can see, even in the raw image, even though the image quality is poor, you can see that eye just there. So we look at this one on the right. I'll show you the magnifier. Look at the eye. This is raw, okay? This has been enlarged, but it's raw. You can see the eye just there. And if you look at the actual colorized version I've got here, which is still a bit grungy, but you can see that eye. It's absolutely insane that you would get that much eye preservation on a fossilized creature on Mars. But we got nostrils and we have an eye, and it looks like a fish head. It may not be, but it looks like one. Okay. Then there was this. This is one of my very first finds, and it's very similar. I call it a shark, but I don't think it is this one. It doesn't have a shark-like eye. It might be something else. It might be a completely different type of creature, but it looks like the fish head, and it's broken off, and we got eye detail there. Unfortunately, this is a low-quality image, so I'm not going to zoom in too far. It's okay if you sit back a bit, that one. But there will be links to these, and each one will have a video linked to it, okay? And you'll see better images in the video, and it will also give you all the information you need, like if you want to download the images or whatever, okay, in the description. Then there is this one. This is more of a much more kind of large one. Now, this isn't even by the same rover. This is on a completely different part of Mars and was photographed by the Spirit rover on Sol 692. Now, the Spirit rover conked out years ago, and it took this image of a fossilized fish in the ground. And I was the only one that spotted it, of course. Everyone else ignored it. And if you look here, it's similar in shape to a sturgeon with bony scutes on its back. Then we have a much more recent find, here, which I just dug up and put on here. This is from Sol 173. Now, this is back at Gale Crater. So not far from this actual shark-looking one, the two new ones. We have one here. Now, these just look like rocks, don't they? But they're not. This is a fish here. It's a fish fossil. You zoom in, you can see the head there, you can see the body, and the tail's here broken off. There's the tail, which would go on the end here. There's the body, and there's the head, and you can see facial detail, including the mouth here and the snout. You just about make out an eye there as well. If I go back a little bit, you can make out where the eye was, right? Just there. Yeah, just there, see it? Hard to see. So you've got to have eagle eyes to actually spot a lot of these fossils. But if you're familiar with the shapes and morphology of general animals and creatures, you will find them. You just have to look in the rocks, in between the rocks, under the rocks. They're often in overhangs like this. There's an overhanging rock here, and a whole bunch of larger rocks. And this is what would have been part of the lake bed. And interesting enough, you look down here, we have what looks like a tooth or something here. And you see these all over the place. And I did find what looked like shark's teeth in some of these areas, which are razor sharp. Now, sharks are not fish. Sharks are actually pre-fish. Okay, in other words, they don't have bones; they are cartilage. Now, of course, these ones on Mars may be different, and this may not be a shark, but it may just look like one. Okay. The point is, on Earth, you don't find fossilized sharks very often. They're very hard to find, but what you do find are sharks' teeth because they're made of ceramic and they're very hard and they survive and they're found in all over the world in the areas where fossils are found. You find sharks' teeth. They're quite common. Okay, and I would expect to find them on Mars as well because they're quite common. So there we have it. We have what looks like a shark or dogfish right there. Okay, let's look at the smaller one. It's probably a little bit sharper. Two Mars fish, clear fossils on the surface of Gale Crater. One sitting on the sand and one sticking out of a rock where it's basically hardened sedimentary clay from what was a salt lake. And at one point would have been over a mile deep, about a mile and a half deep. So there we have it. Have a good look at that. We are looking at proof of life on Mars in the past, and there may even still be some there now, hidden underground. Okay, and I've shown lots of entrances going into the mountain, entrances and doorways and things like that. So that it's pretty clear to me there may be people in and under the mountain at Mount Sharp in this crater. Okay. I've shown many examples of remains of people on the ground and lots of animals and creatures. There was also this thing here. This looks like a dead creature. I don't know what it is. It's very small in the image, and if you zoom in, it just gets all fuzzy. So you need to sit back from it a bit. And it's got a leg there, and possibly a couple more here, and a body there, and a head there. But there's no real detail there, so I'm not going to focus on that too much. But these things are all over the place in certain areas, and it's so cold on Mars at night um, that anything left out would just freeze, and then it would mineralize. Okay, so that's why there's so many fossils here, because the conditions are very dry and very cold, and when things freeze, they mineralize and then they fossilize. A lot of these things were probably fossilized much earlier on when the atmosphere was more like ours, more Earth-like. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing remains of fossils that are broken up on what was a lake bed. Okay? Who would ever think that? You'd find a fish fossil in a lake bed. I mean, I wonder if NASA have ever thought of doing that. Actually looking at their own images properly and studying them and actually saying, "Oh, look what we found! We found a fish fossil. We found a dead animal, or whatever." Why don't they do that? What is going on with NASA? Are they stupid? I don't think so. Are they gagged? Probably. As I've said many times before, um, I think a lot of them would like nothing more than to announce some of these things, but they're not allowed. The military have gagged them. They've been gagged for a very long time, okay? Going right back to the 60s. So thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the links on this page. They will link to other videos and other Gigapans. And check out the links below to link to this. Check me out on Twitter at ArtAlienTV. Check me out on Rumble, ArtAlienTV6 on Rumble. Okay, and please share. Okay, so thanks for watching. Clips coming up now.